It might be hard to believe, but the people we are closest to can sometimes hurt us the most. This woman survived many attempts on her life by her own husband, who also took the life of their baby. You may wonder if what I'm saying is true. Yes, you heard me right. Her husband took the life of their child, and not only that, but also tried to end both this woman's life several times and the other children they have together. Did this woman do something that caused her husband to do this unimaginable? How did this woman manage to survive where it was not possible?
Asante, mimi naitwa Zaria mnada.
My name is Zaria. I am 34 years old. I have 2 kids. My first child is 13 and my second child is 10. I was born in Dodoma. After I finished high school, I moved from Dodoma to Arusha and started to face challenges in life. Then, I met a man who became my husband, but after we got married, I learned lessons that will never leave my mind. Zaria did not come from a poor family. She had a good childhood because her mom and dad took good care of her. As a lady who was old enough to start her own family, it was a special time for her because she was at the point where many girls dream of finding themselves. But what happened that turned what should have been a happy time into a time of sadness for her?
Mungu alikuwa ni mkubwa.
My husband was 7 years older than me. People I saw in him that just because you're older doesn't mean you're wiser. Unlike other hardworking men, my husband was very lazy. Life became very tough when I started living with him. We were farmers, but he wasn't a good partner for me. He did very bad things like following dark spirits, and he never showed me any kindness. Even now, I'm sharing this because we separated in 2015, and I left his house when our youngest child was only 1 year and 8 months old. Since then, he hasn't cared about how the children are doing. He doesn't know if they have food, where they sleep, or if they're going to school. He is their father only by name. One big reason we separated was his addiction to weed, which made him act crazy. He used to hit me often and hurt me a lot. He did so many bad things to her that she couldn't feel peace or happy. From the very first day they were together, every moment was hard for Zaria. She learned a lot of things she didn't know before she got married, especially because of the difficult life she had with her husband, who she says was involved with evil spirits. Right after he got me pregnant, I was pregnant for more than 12 months, but the baby vanished from my womb. Because of my situation, I started visiting witch doctors and learned many things, which led to me having scary dreams about something big being hidden from me. In one dream, I saw my husband and another woman I didn't recognize doing something terrible to me and taking a baby girl from my womb, which matched what doctors had told me about expecting a girl. In my dream, I saw a baby being harmed and given to a snake. Then they cut the baby and shared the parts. I woke up next to my husband, who asked what was wrong. I lied, saying I dreamed my father had died. He gave me water, and that time, I felt like I wanted to pee. I stood up by the door, which had a mirror. My belly seemed like there was no baby inside. Immediately, I felt pee coming right where I was standing. I couldn't control my bladder, but then I saw it wasn't urine, but blood. She then fell into a coma. This was not normal and showed something strange was happening in her body. She lost awareness and didn't know what was happening. Later, she woke up and found herself in the hospital. I didn't know how I ended up in the hospital or what he told the doctors. All I knew was he said I fell, but he was lying because he seemed to know more about why I was there. I stayed in the hospital for 2 months. A man visited me while I was getting blood transfusions, and I was told my baby had died, but I knew it wasn't a normal death from what I saw in the mirror. The treatment at the hospital wasn't enough, so we went to traditional healers. They gave my mom medicine to mix with tea for me. After going home and taking the medicine, I started to feel stronger but was very sad. I decided to stay quiet and not tell anyone about my dream. The rule was that either she or the baby she was carrying had to die. After everything, she thought her problems were over, but they were just starting. She faced another weird problem that could have been more dangerous than the first.
Nilipata pia kama saratani ya ziwa.
Things got really bad when I found a small hole under my breast that hurt a lot. I went to many hospitals for treatment. Then, the doctors said I had breast cancer. It was so serious that they wanted to remove my breast. When they decided this, my family, especially my dad and mom, insisted on trying other ways before surgery. They suggested using traditional doctors to see if they could help before going ahead with the amputation. In severe pain, they searched for ways to save Zaria's life. It might seem odd to leave the hospital and not use modern medicine to instead try traditional doctors, but they believed it might help Zaria survive. The cancer doctors also mentioned that the diagnosis might not be completely right because Zaria only had pain and a small hole under her breast with no other clear signs of breast cancer. I was feeling very bad, but then we found a traditional healer. She was an old blind woman. Despite being blind, she did something to the small hole under my breast. She told me it would hurt a lot, but she needed to help me. So she asked me to remove my clothes, and then she started to lick the hole, causing me so much pain that I wet myself. Suddenly, a snake came out of the hole. The old woman explained that the snake was causing my breast to decay, not cancer. She warned that I and my children were in danger. When I asked who was responsible, she said it was someone very close to me, my husband. She also mentioned that my son had a problem and asked me to bring him to her. She left feeling no more pain, which meant she had gotten better from her sickness. However, she now faced the challenge of helping her child because the old woman had told her that her child also had a problem. My kids were still very young when my husband forced me out of his house. I moved back in with my parents, and it was tough to take my child to the doctor. My husband would beat me and hurt me badly whenever I asked for my children, telling me to leave without them. But when I learned one of my kids was also in trouble, I decided to risk facing my husband's anger and went to get my children from his house. When I arrived, he attacked me, so I had to run back to my parents' house. That night, I started bleeding from my nose a lot. I ended up in the hospital where a village leader came to see me. He supported me a lot because after I got out of the hospital, I went back to my children. After she got out of the hospital, she didn't go back to her dad's house. Instead, she went to her own house. This was because the authorities told her husband he must not hurt her again. If he did, he would be sent straight to jail. I went back to my house, knowing that my husband was not a good person and wished me harm. That's when conflicts arose because I confronted him about being harmful. He would get very angry and hit me. However, I discovered he wasn't very strong and I could defend myself against him. Eventually, I realized that this wasn't the kind of life I wanted to live, especially because it was affecting my children. So, I decided to ask for a divorce. After the divorce, he was supposed to give me money every month for the children, but he didn't. He even tried to harm me again when we were dealing with our shared properties during the divorce. Zaria began a new life with her children and started to experience new opportunities and see more of the world. Before, she felt stuck in one place. Even though she discovered many good things, nothing was more important to her than her love for her children. She often found reasons to pursue what was good, but never considered leaving her children behind. After leaving my first husband, I met another man who gave me the kind of love I had never experienced before. He met me when I was in a very tough situation. I was in bad shape, lost my sight, and my first husband had left me deeply hurt because of his harmful actions. On the day we met, he treated me to expensive things I wasn't familiar with. However, our relationship ended because he wanted to move to South Africa and asked me to come with him and leave my kids. I couldn't do that because my children mean everything to me. He went back to South Africa without me, and we separated. This man helped me feel like myself again. Now, I feel like a true woman with a strong heart, and I know what I want in life. After she was left on her own, she didn't give up. She was a hard-working and humble woman. Today, she has a small business to make food for people. This way, she can take good care of herself and her young children, who need their mom's love. It wasn't easy, but she was determined and knew what she wanted. She works hard every day and never quit. I feel like a widow in this country, raising my children by myself. Their father might as well not exist because he doesn't help us at all. I love my children very much and will do anything to make sure they have a good life. My advice to women and everyone else is to think carefully before getting married. Sometimes, you might end up with someone who causes you a lot of stress and pain. But if you are in a happy marriage, keep loving each other and be thankful, because many people don't have peace at home with their partners. Her journey shows us the importance of being careful in choosing a partner and the strength that comes from within when faced with adversity. If you're going through tough times, don't sit down and wait to die, because through pain, both physical and emotional, it is possible to overcome adversity and rebuild a life filled with hope and new beginnings. Thanks for watching. I am Susan Burnett, and this is Afrimax English. Please remember to subscribe.